Shavua Tov. Nice to see you guys. If you're just here for the Parsha reading, which I'll read through simply in English, you can just skip to this timestamp here. But I wanted to start off. I'm going to share a little something before we get started, but I want to start off by saying that I'm really taking upon this challenge, if you will, of keeping up this Parsha reading as a series. I got some really positive feedback and words of encouragement, and this is one of those things where I figured I'm reading the Parsha every week anyway, and I really felt like there's not so many resources or so many options even just to hear the Parsha read through in English. So I thought I would share that as I just go along and do it anyway at the start of the week. And I really feel that if even one person can listen to the Parsha, read the Parsha, study along, who might not have otherwise done so in the week, it'll be incredible. So I was really surprised with how many people actually watched that video, and Bezrat Hashem, it will continue to grow. All that being said, I have two sort of updates, I guess, for this week. One, I wanted to start. I've been reading this book, Orat HaTorah, with Rav Kook's writings about Torah study, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to share. I don't know if I'll do this each week, but I thought it'd be nice because there are these short snippets about his point of view about the richness and the nourishment and the benefits and really the approach of studying Torah, whether it's written or oral Torah, and just what that looks like to in his framework for Torah study for the Jewish people. So I want to start off with this, and this is actually into the sixth chapter, which is aptly named Torah study. And this one section is called How Torah Study Differs from Secular Studies. And I really just love this, and I want to share it with you. It's very short. So he writes, when we study in holiness, this refines both our desires and our intellect. Divine illumination radiates from our soul's essential core, permeating its entire being. Spiritual life spreads to all parts of our essence, just as blood circulates throughout the body. The secular study of any worldly discipline, on the other hand, only vitalizes the specific area of its focus. This is the basis for the quantitative difference between holy and secular studies, besides the infinitely greater qualitative difference between them. And I just love that, because for me, that what really called out to me is just this idea of Torah study being so much more beyond the text, beyond the book, beyond the words. And in Judaism, we recognize that there are four deep levels of Torah study, and that kind of each level has its own merits, its own ways to read and understand the Torah, from the pshat, the most basic surface level, all the way down to the deeper esoteric levels that are quite beyond human comprehension. As of now. So, what I liked about this was this really nice reminder that as we engage with Torah, as we learn about it, as we even listen to words of Torah, that it's not just about us absorbing it in the way that we would absorb any other kind of study, but that it's deeply nourishing on this like esoteric, deep, metaphysical level, that it really courses through our body and through our spiritual body, and really spiritually nourishes us. So that's kind of I really liked that one, and I wanted to share that little bit with you. So another new little addition update, which is nice for me, is that I bought a new Chumash set. I shared this on a little short live stream I did, sharing my book haul of the week. And I got this edition, which is called the Gutnick edition. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was a little blurry, but it's called the Gutnick edition, and it's a Chabad commentary, Chabad version of the Torah text. So I really enjoyed reading from this. I really like the style and sort of the flow of it, and the commentary. So I thought I would continue on the series, most likely reading from this edition. But as it is, it's all the Torah, so it's not going to differ so wildly. But there may be perhaps some words here and there that are translated a little bit differently. So last week we read from Chai Sarah, and this week we are moving on to Parashat Toldot. And before I begin, again, I feel the need to apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. And although I'm reading this in English, which maybe I'll mispronounce things even in English, but there'll be names, there'll be certain things that are still written in Hebrew, so I may mispronounce them. So I apologize for that. Another thing to mention is that this edition actually goes with the Ashkenazi S endings versus the t like T sounds. So sometimes I do switch those because I personally preferred the reading with the T sound, but I might say a few words with this sort of Ashkenazi twang. All right, so let's jump in. Parashat Toldot. And these are the descendants of Yitzchak, the son of Avraham. After God gave Avram the name Avraham, he fathered Yitzchak. Yitzchak was 40 years old when he took Rivkah for himself as a wife. Even though she was the daughter of Betuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean, she did not learn from their wicked ways. Yitzchak prayed repeatedly to God in one corner of the room opposite his wife, because she was barren. God accepted his prayer, and his wife Rivkah conceived. The children struggled inside her. She said, "If the pain of pregnancy is so much, why did I want to be like this?" She went to the yeshiva of Shem to ask God what was going to happen to her. Through Shem's divine inspiration, God said to her, "The ancestors of two esteemed individuals are in your womb. Furthermore, two kingdoms will separate from your innards, one to wickedness, one to innocence. One kingdom will always become mightier than the other kingdom, for when one rises, the other will fall. The elder son will serve the younger son." The term of her pregnancy was complete, and look, there were twins in her womb. The first one came out reddish and completely covered in hair, like a fur coat of hair. They named him Esau. Afterwards, his brother emerged, and his hand was grasping Esau's heel. God named him Yaakov. Yitzhak was 60 years old when she gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and their differences became recognizable. Esau was a man who knew how to trap people with his mouth, a man of the field who enjoyed hunting. Yaakov was an honest person, dwelling in tents, the yeshiva of Shem and Ever. Yitzchak loved Esau because he provided his mouth with game, but Rivka loved Yaakov. On the day Abraham died, Yaakov was cooking a lentil stew to feed his father when Esau came home from the field, exhausted from his murderous activities. Esau said to Yaakov, "Pour some of this red stuff down my throat because I'm exhausted." He was therefore given the name Edom, meaning red. Yaakov thought that Esau was not fit to perform the sacrificial services carried out by the firstborn, so he said, "Sell me your birthright so that I own it indisputably like daylight." Esau replied, "Look, with my lifestyle, I'm going to be punishable by death if I retain the right to sacrificial services. So why do I need this birthright?" Yaakov said, "Swear to me so that I own it indisputably like daylight." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Yaakov. Yaakov gave bread and lentil stew to Esau, who ate and drank. Then he got up and left. Esau despised the whole idea of serving God, which came with the birthright. There was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that had been in the days of Avraham. Yitzhak went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. God appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Inhabit the land which I will tell you about. Settle in this land, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For I will give all these lands to you and to your descendants, and I will uphold the oath that I swore to Abraham, your father. I'll multiply your descendants like the stars of the heavens, and I'll give your descendants all these lands. All the nations of the earth will give blessings to each other by comparing themselves to your descendants. All this is because Abraham listened to my voice when I tested him. He guarded my secondary prohibitions that protect a person from transgressing biblical prohibitions, my rational commands, my super-rational commands, and my instructions in the oral law." So Yitzchak settled in Gerar. When the local men asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," because he said to himself, "Perhaps the local men will kill me because of Rivka, for she is pleasant looking." Then, when he had been there for many days, he felt it was safe to stop pretending as if Rivka was his sister. Avimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through the window, and he saw, look, Yitzchak was courting Rivka, his wife. Avimelech summoned Yitzchak, and he said, "She really is your wife. How could you have said she is my sister?" Yitzchak said to him, "Because I said to myself, perhaps I'll die because of her." "What have you done to us?" said Avimelech. "I, the king, the highest of the people, might easily have lain with your wife, and if I had done so, you would have brought guilt upon us." Avimelech instructed all the people, saying, "Whoever touches this man or his wife will be put to death." Yitzhak sowed crops in that land, which was not as fertile as the main part of the land of Israel, and he found even in that year, which was a bad one for crops, that the land yielded 100 times more than average, and God blessed him. The man Yitzhak became prosperous, and he grew constantly greater, until he had grown very great, even in comparison to Avimelech. He had flocks of sheep and cattle and many enterprises, and the Philistines envied him. The Philistines stopped up all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and they filled them with earth. Avimelech said to Yitzhak, "Go away from us, for you have become much stronger than us." Yitzhak went away from there, set up camp in the Gerar valley, and settled there. However, before he left Gerar, Yitzhak redug the water wells which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham and were stopped up by the Philistines after Abraham's death. He gave them names, the same names that his father had given them. After settling in the valley, Yitzhak's servants dug, and they found there a well of living waters. The shepherds of Gerar argued with Yitzhak's shepherds, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Isaac, argument, because they had argued with him. They dug another well, and the shepherds quarreled about it also. So he named it Sitnah, harassment. He moved away from there and dug another well. They did not quarrel over it, so he named it Rehovot. He said, "For now, God has made space, Yirchiv, for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." He went up from there to Beersheba. That night, God appeared to him and said, "I am the God of Abraham, your father. Do not be afraid, because I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of Abraham, my servant." He built an altar there, and he prayed in the name of God. He pitched his tent there, and Yitzhak's servants dug a well there. Avimelech went to him from Gerar with a group of his companions and Pichol, his army general. Yitzhak said to them, "Why have you come to me if you hate me, and you've sent me away from you?" They said, "We see that God was with you, and we saw that God was with your father. So we said, Let the oath that was between us from the days of your father be between ourselves and you. Let us form a covenant with you, that you do not do harm to us, just like as have not touched you. And just as we only treated you well, and we sent you away in peace, you too, blessed one of God, now do the same." Yitzhak made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. They got up early in the morning and swore an oath with each other. Yitzhak sent them off, and they went away from him in peace. Then on that same day, Yitzhak's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug. They said to him, "We have found water." He named it Shiva, oath. The city is therefore called Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Yehudit, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Batmat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Their idol worship tormented Yitzhak and Rivkah. Yitzhak had grown old, and he wanted to bless Esau. The vision of his eyes had dimmed. He summoned Esau, his older son, and he said to him, "My son." "I'm here," he replied. "Look, now I have grown old. I don't know when I will die. So now sharpen your tools, take your sword and your bow, and go out to the field to hunt game for me. Make for me the tasty foods that I love, and bring them to me to eat. For doing this, my soul will bless you before I die." Rivkah was listening when Yitzhak spoke to Esau, his son. Esau went to the field to hunt game. He intended to bring meat from stolen animals if he was unable to trap his own. Rivkah said to her son Yaakov, "Look, I heard your father speaking to Esau, your brother, saying, 'Bring me game and make me tasty foods to eat, and I will bless you before my death before God.' Now, my son, listen to my voice, to what I am commanding you. Now go to the flock and take 2 of my choice kids from there, and I will make one of them into tasty foods for your father, the types that he loves, since a goat tastes like game. You will bring them to your father to eat. For doing this, he will bless you before he dies." Yaakov said to Rivkah's mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy person, and I'm a smooth-skinned person. Maybe my father will feel me and see that I'm an impostor. I'll bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing." But his mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Listen to my voice. Go and get the goats for me." So he went and took the goats, and he brought them to his mother. His mother made tasty foods that his father loved. Rivkah took her older son Esau's clean clothing, which she had in the house, and she dressed Yaakov, her younger son. She put the goat skins on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. She gave the tasty foods and the bread which she had made into the hand of Yaakov, her son. He came to his father and said, "My father." Yitzhak said, "I'm here. Where are you, my son?" Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I did what you told me. Please come and sit at the table and eat some of my game in order that your soul will bless me." Yitzhak said to his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" He said, "Because God, your God, brought it to me." When Yaakov mentioned God, Yitzhak became suspicious. So Yitzhak said to Yaakov, "Please come closer so that I may feel you, my son, to see if you are my son Esau or not." Yaakov drew near to Yitzchak his father, and he felt him. Yitzchak said, "The voice is polite like the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, and he blessed him. He said, "Are you my son Esau?" "I am," he said. He said, "Serve me so that I may eat my son's game. For doing this, my soul will bless you." Yaakov served him, and he ate. He brought him wine, and he drank. His father Yitzchak said to him, "Please come closer and kiss me, my son." Yaakov came closer, and he kissed him. Yitzchak smelled the fragrance of what he thought was his garments, and he blessed him. He said, "Look, the fragrance of my son is like the fragrance of a field of apples, which God has blessed. And may the Almighty give you repeatedly from the dew of the skies and from the fatness of the earth an abundance of grain and wine. Nations will serve you, kingdoms will bow down to you. You will be a master over your brothers, and your mother's sons will bow down to you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed." Then, when Yitzchak had finished blessing Yaakov, just as Yaakov had left his father Yitzchak's presence, his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He had also made tasty foods, and he brought them to his father. He said to his father, "My father should get up and eat his son's game, so that your soul will bless me." His father Yitzchak said to him, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm your son, your firstborn, Esau." Yitzchak was extremely bewildered. He said, "Who then is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? Then I ate it all before you came, and I blessed him. Let him be blessed too, in any case." When Esau heard his father's words, he cried extremely loudly and bitterly. He said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." Yitzchak said, "Your brother came ingeniously and took your blessing." Esau said, "Is that why he was called Yaakov? Because he was destined to deceive me. Le'akveni. He has deceived me twice. He took my birthright, and look, now he has taken my blessing." Esau said to Yitzchak, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" Yitzchak answered, saying to Esau, "Whatever blessing I give you will be of no use, because I've already made him a master over you, given him all his brothers as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. So for you then, what shall I do, my son? If I bless you, he'll acquire your possessions in any case, since he is your master." Esau said to his father, "Haven't you got just one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Esau raised his voice and wept. His father Yitzchak answered, saying, "Look, your dwelling place shall be from the fat places of the land, and from the dew of the skies from above. You will live by your sword, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grieve about the blessings he took, because the Jewish people have transgressed the Torah, then you will break his yoke off your neck." Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing which his father had given him. Esau said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father will soon come, and then I will kill my brother Yaakov." Rivka was told by divine inspiration the words of Esau, her older son. She sent a message and summoned to Yaakov, her younger son. She said to him, "Beware, your brother Esau regrets his relationship to you and wishes to kill you. Now, my son, listen to my voice. Go and run away to my brother Lavan in Haran. You can live with him for a few days until your brother's anger has calmed down, until your brother's anger against you has calmed down and he forgets what you did to him. Then I will send for you and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved from both of you on one day? For if you kill him, his sons will kill you." Rivka said to Yitzchak, "I am sick of my life because of the Hittite girls. If Yaakov takes a wife from a Hittite girl like one of these from the daughters of this land, what use is life to me?" Yitzchak called to Yaakov and blessed him. He instructed him, saying, "You should not take a wife from the Canaanite girls. Go and travel to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there, from the daughters of Lavan, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you, make you fruitful and multiply, and you'll become an assembly of nations. May He give you the blessing of Abraham to you and to your seed with you, and that you will inherit the land in which you only wandered in up until now, which God gave to Abraham." Yitzhak sent Yaakov off, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban the son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rivkah, Yaakov, and Esau's mother. Esau saw that Yitzchak had blessed Yaakov and sent him away to Padan Aram to take himself a wife from there, and that when he blessed him, he instructed him, saying, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan." And he saw that Yaakov listened to his father and his mother and went to Padan Aram. So since Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan were displeasing to his father Yitzchak, Esau went to Ishmael and took for a wife Mahalat, the daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael, a sister of Nebayot, in addition to his other wives. Wow, that's a really interesting, juicy one. And it's always interesting to read that and then actually really sympathize a bit with Esau as you read the story. And it's fascinating when you think about the idea of Esau and Edom and the Ishmaelites and anti-Semitism and it all starting from here in many regards. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. Thank you for following along again. For those of you who are listening along, studying along, I really enjoy this edition. But it's interesting. What you don't see in here is that this edition has many words in parentheses, and I think that those are sort of the commentaries, translations that they're kind of highlighting. So if you're reading along with perhaps a more classic version or even like the Stone Edition Art Scroll Chumash that I was reading from last week, you might have caught some words that are a little bit different. But I personally am really enjoying this edition, so I think I'll continue along with it. Anyway, for the rest of the week, if you guys want to follow along as well, what I do is, including today, read each aliyah, each section of the Parsha in Hebrew. And now, as I read the Hebrew, I'll actually have the story in mind so I can pick up some words and pieces. And that's a bit of my practice as I go throughout the week. And then I'll read a little bit from my daily Aliyah book, which I showed you guys in my last video, to just get a little bit of interesting commentary insights about each Aliyah. I'll also go into the commentary here and kind of cross-reference it with different Humashim that I have, as well as reading the Ramchal commentary on the Parsha. So lots of resources, lots of things you can do, many ways you can study it, but I find this format helpful. Generally, this framework of reading the entire Parsha in your native language, for starting on Yom Rishon on Sunday, and then having every day of the week be a little bit of a deeper dive into each aliyah. So I hope that this will really help me get into a deeper place with my Torah study and my Parsha study. And I hope you guys will enjoy it as well. So with that, I want to wish you guys all a Shavua Tov. Have a beautiful, happy, and harmonious week.